All right, welcome to the world's second greatest podcast. This is UK CORRAL. This is the podcast that reviews every UK comic ever made. I'm your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by Adamantium.
You.
All right, yes. We've got a Catman on our hands here. And, oh, look at that. It's how appropriate. And then joining Catman is Nice Man. Woo!
Too nice to be on this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. So, at the height of Batmania, actually, this is now getting into Batman Returns territory. DC was hyping up the Penguin and Catwoman, and they released two prestige formats that year. One was called Penguin Triumphant, and the other one was called Catwoman Defiant. And I never read them, and I always wanted to. And finally this week, I got to read one of them. Catwoman Defiant by Peter Milligan, Tom Grindberg, and Dick Giordano. Adamantium, had you ever read this comic before?
Never heard of it, never read it. I know they made some tie-in material relating to Batman Returns, and definitely, you know, if people talk about the synergy that the big two are making anymore for their movie and TV tie-in properties, it's nothing new. This was still done back in the early 1990s. It's interesting, though, that for trying to buoy the success of that film or even promote the comics that inspired that film, the material they would use to promote these characters and kind of introduce them to, the general readership into, this is who this character is in this current continuity, seemingly at odds with the representation in the film. Oddly enough, I have at least perused through the Penguin prestige format comic that you were referring to, and it probably veers even more wildly away from that film depiction than this, but this still isn't quite the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. Anyway, we'll talk about it quite a bit, but I have to close my eyes because this comic cover is really intimidating me.
Before we, okay, here, let me click to something else. How's that? Is that better for you? Okay. Nice Man, what is your experience with these books? Have you ever read this one before?
No, and thank God.
Okay,
Thank God I didn't waste my time and money.
I thought we liked Peter Milligan, but I'm starting to wonder about Nice Man.
I love Peter Milligan on Ecstatic.
Oh, me too.
I like every issue. It's just great, right from the first page. But this, you know what I'm going to say. Burn it.
Well, okay. We usually take turns summarizing. How should we do this? Oh, I know. How about Adamantium starts us off?
and finishes.
and then I can pick it up after the few. How about we'll try to go scene by scene? How about that?
Okay. Well, Mike, you just let me know when to stop. Oh, sure. Excuse me. My cat has to jump. Okay, perfect. So speaking of cat jumping, we open up in, I will admit, something I do want to confess I think is a positive of this comic. The first couple pages open up without any dialogue or description. It's essentially the comic equivalent of a silent film with just these sequential panels moving on. We see people who are destroying and eviscerating a bunch of artwork. The next page, so we're already getting, I'll save some reservations I have about this comic for later on, but then we see Catwoman in one of the most impossible positions I've ever seen a human being contort themselves into, scouring up a wall. And obviously, she's right outside where this robbery or this vandalism is taking place. And of course, she enters into and shenanigans and a big brouhaha just manages to continue. This page actually is the first one with dialogue, where we have someone with a net saying, "Mr. Handsome wants your company," or requests your company. Yeah. And then the ensuing pages are just these thugs trying to ensnare and capture Catwoman. It looks like she's about to escape, but then she's pushed off of a roof from where she's trying to flee. But of course, who happens to appear but Batman to protect her and save her. And so he manages to stop some of the thugs, even though he does get seemingly shot or just nearly shot during the brawl. And of course, it's one of the usual Batman Catwoman tussles and, the exchanges of, oh, you're bad, but you look so good. You're too good, but you look bad. And just one of those, like, I think it's supposed to be sexually charged. Here he's just outright just smashing her face against the wall. I don't know what level of seduction that is. I haven't quite made it to that part yet
it's
of the
love
Andrew
language
Tate biography, but But, everyone's love languages are different. Anyway, it turns out Batman says, well, you crossed the paths of some very bad people. You're going to need my help. You just can't go away. The next sequence shows some of these thugs still talking about Mr. Handsome, which is the main adversary's name. And they're in this sort of junkyard with a dog. As they're talking a bit more, they reveal something about a strange part of the job, which they hate. So they take this elevator down to this subterranean level, and they kick the dog out where it starts whining and crying as the shadow comes over it, and the implication being that this dog is torn asunder or killed.
Or eaten, yeah.
Eaten, possibly. One thing I will have to mention, because, Mike, I'm sorry, I'm going to get into a little bit of criticism already.
Sure.
This is maybe like the 12th. Oh, no, go back to that page.
This page. Okay, 12th page. Yep.
This is like the 12th ass shot of Catwoman that I've seen so far.
I agree. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't want to speak for Nice Man because I think there are some grievances I have with the writing itself as well. But mainly, even though I think the pencils by Grindberg are decent and show good sequential flow, there's just this litany of ass shots and weird positions that Catwoman is contorted into. It's just really inconsistent with also the proportions of the bodies. I noticed there's some panels where Selina Kyle has a more muscular frame, other ones where she's very lithe. It's very inconsistent. The inks I do like. Who is the inker? Was that
Dick Giordano?
Yeah. And even the colors by Steve Olive, I don't mind. I think
he's a great colorist, yeah.
Yeah, good murky atmosphere. And I think it salvages some of the questionable art, but I don't know, I just feel there's this serious tone evoked in their colors and inks that contrast with the flamboyant and kind of sexualized pencils of Grindberg. So I just wanted to get that critique out of the way with them. Just since we're on this page and it's directly facing me.
This is the panel you're talking about in particular.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Thank you for emphasizing that.
Yeah.
So there's no confusion for the viewer. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, they interrogate a thug, trying to figure out what's going on, and they find out Mr. Handsome is the big bad of this comic, and I guess his thing is he wants to take all this beautiful stuff. Basically, he's obsessed with beauty, and he's not just obsessed with stealing it. The idea is he also wants to destroy it, and it's left ambiguous why this is. The next page, we get into a bit of an introduction of Mr. Handsome in this shadowy room with these monitors, looking at the same thing the audience was. Again, Selina Kyle's ass, just multiple shots of it.
That's pretty ridiculous. I didn't even notice that. You're right. Like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I will discuss the themes later on when we do more of a recap of the entire book. There is kind of a point to this where you're exploring this sort of fetishizing and maybe the hypersexuality of Catwoman, and even the way that Mr. Handsome describes her as, these very particular terms, saying, enjoy the limbs, long, languid, leather. Her sneer is perfection. Her body will be hard, very hard, and yet there will be softness too. Like, there is definitely a perverted element to his descriptions of her and this sort of fetishizing of the description of her body. But that said, if that was a point that was being made to kind of show the perversity of this character, contrasted with the strength of Catwoman, that'd be one thing. But again, the art just keeps focusing so much on these weird cheesecake poses. I'm not sure if the artist is in congruity with Mr. Handsome, if it's supposed to be a contrast. It's very hard to figure that out. But anyway, yes, as revealed, he loves beautiful things. Catwoman is beautiful, but he also wants to destroy beautiful things, and that's kind of the crux of this storyline as we see Mr. Handsome shedding a single tear down his face as he's recounting this to his thug. Yeah. Do you want to take over some recap?
So I can jump in if I can remember. So basically then we have Catwoman still kind of going about her business. She's in the middle of a break and enter, and Batman kind of intervenes, right? And is like, well, what are you up to? And he forces her to, I believe, give back what she's stolen, correct?
This is one little clever piece of writing where she's actually just being followed by Batman because he's kind of using her as bait to figure out if he can track down Mr. Handsome, because he knows that Mr. Handsome's after Catwoman, so therefore, if he follows Catwoman during her usual jaunts in the night, he might be able to track down this villain. The thing is, she can't help being allured by the prospect of cat burglary, so she says, oh, if you want the thing I've stolen, I've put it right down the front of my suit. Feel free to reach down and grab it. I will give the writing that. Like, it is very provocative and, it is very, like, sex comedy. That's kind of a clever line. I don't mind that.
Absolutely. I agree with you. So as we can see, Batman is following Catwoman from a distance. Then just as that happens, it looks like there's a mugging or something that's going on. So then Batman jumps down, and it looks like these are all these were mannequins, correct?
Mannequins or the thugs, the Batman trope of the 1960s where all the henchmen dressed up in some sort of pastiche of whoever their boss was. So because it's Mr. Handsome, they're all wearing these kind of mannequin masks, and they were staging a mugging. Yeah.
Yes. And so that was basically to trick Batman. Then when he comes to rescue what he thinks is Catwoman, it's actually another dummy with a bomb inside. So Batman escapes certain death. Then we cut over back to the same kind of junkyard that we were introduced to earlier in the story, and we see that Catwoman has been kind of captured. And and then she finds out from this TV screen, Mr. Handsome explains to her that, that she's trapped in this thing, and does he explain that there's a beast in there? I think so.
Or at least he's implying, well, there's something in there, so you're gonna be killed. I mean,
right. Yeah. And so she is kind of searching around this, like, it's not a dungeon, but it's like, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's kind of like, it looks like an abandoned kind of underground thing, and she's chained up. We can see like skeletons of dead bodies here, and then at the end of one page we have some hands come out and grab her, and then we cut away. It's a little bit of a cliffhanger. We cut over to Batman in his Bruce Wayne identity talking to Alfred, basically talking about how he feels guilty because Catwoman got kidnapped, but he does acknowledge that he has the scoundrel that he apprehended during the fake mugging, and he's actually in the Batcave. We cut back over to Catwoman. He's trying to escape from the monster, and then she makes her way, and all of a sudden, okay, we're on page 27, and I gotta admit, Nice Man, this is where things start to get a little wacky.
This is not where. You missed the jumping on point way back.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. So anyway, what happens is Catwoman comes across a woman who is also living in this cave that somehow explains that she has escaped detection. I don't remember if she explains how, but she says that she's Mr. Handsome's wife, and he thinks that she's dead, but she's been living in this underground thing, avoiding the cameras around the place, blah blah blah, and she's talking about how. Or Catwoman asks if the beast is what gave her the scars on his face. And she says, yes, that's the reason that my husband threw me down here. My husband was a lover of beautiful things, reiterating the theme that was established earlier. Lines and wrinkles and sagging skin and fat, they aren't beautiful or feminine, they're beastly. So then we get a revelation of her face right here. She's like, I employed plastic surgeons, but it didn't work. So anyway, she basically says that she was exiled to this underground thing by Mr. Handsome.
And
then
we should
go ahead.
Bring up, there was one little thing that we omitted.
Okay.
Leading up to this, there was a heavy implication that Mr. Handsome his wife had died. And this may have been the thing that tipped him over into madness and these criminal pursuits to destroy beautiful things, because it had been spoken of that he had such a beautiful wife, and upon her death, probably went mad. And that's why he went on his villainous ways to destroy all these beautiful objects and become obsessed with Catwoman, yada, yada. This is the first twist, quotation mark, twist that we're going to receive. That, oh no, she's alive.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, just so we can count the number of twists that are going to happen.
Sure. Oh yeah, there's a lot coming. A lot. So anyway, so basically then she says, okay, I will help you get out of here, but I want you to kill my husband. She's like, and that's like the little cliffhanger. So then we cut back over to the guy that Batman has kidnapped and captured and kept in his Batcave. And he's doing the whole classic Christian Bale, where is he? Right here, right? The classic Batman interrogation, scaring the guy with bats. Cut back over to Catwoman, and she's like, well, I can't kill him. That's not my style, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she helps him, or she helps her through this seemingly endless series of like underground rooms and caverns, and they come across this, like, what do you call this? Like, not a pit, but like what is it called? When you have like a big, tall column of whatever it is.
It's like a pit. It's like a cavernous pit where they have to, the idea is they have to do the, I forget what, there's numerous action films this happens.
Yeah,
the back to back. Back to back. And you have to climb up with your feet on the wall. And that's why she needs Catwoman to escape. And then when they reach the top, that's when, Catwoman can go off and kill her husband. And Catwoman goes, okay, I'll think about it, but I don't know. Right. And then Batman drops off the thug at the precinct. Right,
because now he's got his information, and we see this comics version of the Batwing right here, which looks kind of like a B-2 or something, bomber, kind of. Yeah. Anyway, so then we cut over to our classic back-to-back scene, back-to-back, all the way up, back-to-back. Then we get I think the art is actually really good, but we get a very strange sequence because they get to the top of this tunnel thing, and we see that their faces have emerged completely into the floor of this room here. So, all light. And then we see the green below, which is like the rock. But then we cut to the next page. Oh, wait. We cut to the next page. And in this second panel, now they're like 6 feet back down? So that's confusing as hell. And then she's like, well, the only way we can do it is if we both try to spin around. It's the only way. So then they somehow spin around. And now they're kind of like above again. And then Catwoman's hand, claws onto the edge. She's trying to bring the wife up with her. She's like, just do it for me, Selina. Kill him. And then she's trying to hold on. But then the wife falls. And now Catwoman is free. And with that, I think at this point we should turn it over to Nice Man. What do you think, Nice Man? Want to do the end for us?
I'm sorry, I've been vomiting.
Okay, tell us what happens at the climax of the story.
So Catwoman is now free and to beat up a couple of thugs, and she's been told that there's lots of kind of like explosives in a particular room, very handy. So therefore set the explosives off and the whole place would go kaboom. It goes kaboom. However, she has to, get to Mr. Handsome And so I think she does. Is that right? Oh, Dixie the cat is here. Um,
First, he
right.
comes across one of his thugs.
Of course, who is wearing a mask and, take me to your leader and okay. And off she goes to find, Mr. Handsome. And what I need the next page.
Okay.
Mr. Handsome is, looking in a mirror. It's a very expensive mirror. Mr. Handsome hates it because it's a beautiful mirror. But of course, we've noticed that Mr. Handsome has a strange voice. It's the lettering, the word balloons indicate this to us, that the voice is strange. And, Catwoman wants to get the mask off Mr. Handsome. And she does. And when she does, she discovers, oh my God, it's really the wife, the aged, bad-looking wife from down below who dropped into the pit, but is now here, sitting in a comfy chair looking at some screens. And of course, this leads to the whole big explanation. Oh, how could you do this? What's going on? And of course, yes, well, the Mr. Handsome, he didn't want me after I wasn't beautiful anymore. And then, did he die or she killed him? Do you remember?
I'll just say she did kill him. Oh, and she threw his body down there. I will say one clever piece of sequential storytelling is that Selena Kyle saw the skeleton that was at the base of that pit when she first entered, and Mary, who is the name of the wife, we should mention, we've neglected her name. Apparently that skeleton belonged to her husband, and because all of his goons and thugs were such idiots, she could easily get away with wearing a mask and disguising her voice and masquerade as him.
Yeah, and, so she killed her husband, tossed him down the pit. He was eaten up, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner by the beast that lurks in the caverns, the beast that lurks in the caves, the beast that's on loan from classic Doctor Who. And so and so she despises all things beautiful. Everything beautiful has to be destroyed. Catwoman is beautiful. So Catwoman, I think she wants to destroy Catwoman, but she wants Catwoman to kill her. Kill her, yes, that's it. But then what's happened now? Why is this stuff falling in on them? I thought the explosion was earlier.
Oh, because they're in the middle of fighting, and then I think the ceiling is still kind of caving in.
Oh, you see,
they're in the middle of arguing,
Yeah, arguing. Ceiling caves in. They're both pinned down. Catwoman wants to get out. Mary doesn't. I think she just wants to die. She says, "But don't worry, we'll die from the smoke." No, yeah, well, we'll die from the smoke before we get crushed completely beneath these girders. And then after that comes what? Who knows?
Then the beast shows up.
The beast, who looks like a reject from a bad Submariner issue, has finally shown up. Somehow, I guess, made it up the tunnel, didn't like all the explosions, and the beast is now ready to feast. And the beast will feast, but on Mary, because, there has to be the ironic ending. Meanwhile, Catwoman can get away, and there's Batman. And she says, well, you took your time. Where the hell have you been? And you were no help, which is true. And he said, well, I came as soon as I could. But that was no good, was it? Anyway, there's Mr. Handsome all chewed up, and Batman gets to puke after seeing what the beast has done to Mr. Handsome, or rather Mary Handsome. And then Catwoman goes off. Batman now has a sling around his arm for some reason. I forget why. The beast is all tied up, I guess. Is that the beast? I don't know. Mary, I think, is dead. Catwoman's gone off into the forest and is looking at herself in the beautiful mirror. The end.
The end.
I have to question that last page. And Mike, you pointed out that this was a post like credit page, so don't skip it when we're flipping through the comic.
Right.
I don't understand the incongruity between this page and what happened previously, because the implication was, as Nice Man said, there's this horrific scene happening. Batman is probably so disgusted by the viscera he's seeing, he's vomiting, like Nice Man had been doing all throughout this comic review. And yet, Mary's perfectly intact and tied up and doesn't seem worse for wear. In fact, I would say she's probably alive, because otherwise why would Batman have her tied up as he does? And then the Beast looks knocked out unconscious. It just seems odd. Obviously, my cat Boo agrees with me. He is very confused and confizzled about what happened or what the implication is here. This is the thing with sequential art. Between the panels, you're supposed to be able to make a clear distinction of what the story is. I don't know what happened with this, and I'm kind of curious everyone else's interpretation before we go on to do kind of the big review of the book.
Are you talking? So you're talking about just between 48 and 49, or 47 and 48? Well, I think, okay, so Batman goes into the other room, sees what's happened, probably throws up, my God. Then she's basically gotten away. He's just sitting there, and I think that last panel is kind of him just going, like when he says Catwoman, it's kind of just like, it's like the Chipmunks, Alvin! Like, oh, she's up to her old tricks again. He's kind of just, that's why he's smiling, I think, because she is who she is. And honestly, I don't know why she looks in the mirror, but it might tie it into the theme of beauty in the comic. I don't really know. However, go ahead.
Well, Mike, I guess my bigger question is, what was he so aghast about when he entered into the room? Mary, unless, is disemboweled from like the chest down, seems to be perfectly intact. In fact, she's tied up, which again implies Batman was able to just subdue her or tie her up to later get her arrested. There would be no need to tie up a cadaver. I think what I'm saying is there's an incongruity in what these two pages are implying. The one previous with Catwoman smirking, looking off to the side with Batman's audible throwing up, implying some horrible visceral scene. And this one showing standard Batman. He beat up the bad guys, have them tied up. He was going to send them off to the police. I'm asking a question when I should really be making a statement. I think there was a mistake with the sequential art.
Okay. Does it tie into the fact that they were out of order and it's possible? Could there be a missing page here or something? What do you think?
No, I think...
Neither of us think anything.
Well, the vomit has dehydrated Nice Man. This is the most I've mentioned regurgitation in any episode. My apologies to sensitive stomached viewers, but it's just something where I feel it's sloppiness. I feel someone on the editorial team missed a very quick, obvious thing, or they said, well, we can't have it implied that that Catwoman just let this beast eviscerate and kill this character and tore her apart. So have a page at the end showing she's okay. Because this was still of the Comics Code era, so there still had to be some degree of, don't worry, she's actually alive, she's not torn apart. And this way it kind of eschews Selina Kyle from being, I guess you could say, complicit in, what would have been a hypocrisy. Because earlier on she said, well, I'm not a murderer. I may be a thief and a criminal, but murder's not my thing. And yet she would be complicit in just letting this woman die would be kind of tantamount to murder. So I feel this was a very lazy way of doing that.
Well, okay, I don't really like to cheat, but on DC Fandom, they do sum up the last page. Do you want me to read you what it says? It's only a tiny paragraph. Okay.
Please do.
Looking at the door behind her, Batman assumes that Mr. Handsome is still inside, and Catwoman allows him to believe that. When he steps inside, she giggles to herself, hearing him cry out in horror at the sight of the creature. Later, Batman manages to subdue both Mary and the creature, which we see here, and muses at how he was tricked. Meanwhile, Catwoman has kept the valuable mirror for herself. So once again, she did get away with stealing something under his nose. So I think when we thought he was screaming at the sight of the wife, it was actually just the sight of the monster itself.
Or, you know what? Now that I'm reading it, there's two distinct word balloons. Maybe the kind of visceral, guttural sound, the oh, which I
Yeah,
assumed was him like retching, is actually a noise from the creature, and then Batman going, "My God."
right, right, right.
Okay, so you know what? I will say I got needlessly worked up about this one thing, but maybe not, because if it's not that clear to me upon reading it right now, I can't imagine that there wouldn't have been other cases where people may have been confused about that or seen an incongruity.
But you know,
Whatever. I'm gonna drop that for now. Sorry.
sure, sure. I just think that I don't mind the fact that it might take a little bit to figure something out. I don't mind that at all. And I actually do think his storytelling is really good. Like even just looking at this page here, even if we are not quite sure exactly what happened, I love the fact that we have this wide shot, we have her running through it, cutting over to a wide shot of Batman, close up looking up at him, then a nice long shot of her, then cutting into her face. Um, it's almost like are you guys familiar with is it Jim Backey?
Yes.
You know, yeah, it has. It's like this is like a mixture of Neil Adams and Jim Backey to me. I think it's not my favorite style of art, but I think he is a really good artist. And you don't see like artists like this anymore, I don't think. But anyway,
No, Mike, and I was just gonna say, I think the tantamount thing for any comic artist can sequentially make your panels make sense and make it
sure.
flow well. That's a major part of the art form, and he does it well. Like my critiques of the art, I don't even think are so much formal as much as just what he chooses to highlight for the hypersexual images of Selena Kyle and all the bending over and the gratuitous ass shots. Case in point, thank you, Trixie. But yes.
This is Dixie giving you an ass shot.
So here's the thing. Okay, before I think Nice Man's gonna have the hottest hot take on this comic, but I'm just gonna say that the weakness of this book is the weakness of a lot of Peter Milligan comics we've talked about, which is you set up this kind of mystery and then you explain everything. You kind of have an exposition dump to explain the twist. I don't think the twist is bad. I think it's good. I just wish it was done a little bit more eloquently. I wish that maybe Catwoman would have figured it out instead of having everything explained to her by the wife. But I don't think the twist itself is bad at all. And the fact that it comes out of the theme of the book makes it that much better to me. So I cannot even imagine why someone would hate this comic so much it would make them want to throw up. But now I want to hear it from Nice Man.
Oh, God, Mike,
come on,
get rid of that
fine.
cover.
Okay. Okay, Nice
Right.
Man.
Let's try and find some nice things to say first.
There
all
you
right?
go. Sandwich it between two nice things.
Let's think. I like the fact that the first few pages have no writing, no narration, no captions, no dialogue. I think just about every comic book should come with like minimal words. If the art's really good, then it can tell, 75% of the story at least. So that was good. And Tom Grindberg has always been a bastard stepchild of Neil Adams.
True.
And in this, there are some Neil Adams tracings for sure. And other times there's some like Jim Aparo stuff or Aparo stuff. And so this art is kind of like halfway between Neil Adams and Jim Aparo, but no, not as good as either of them. So, what can I say? I like Neil Adams stuff. I like some Jim Aparo stuff. So, but anyway, this is kind of in between the two. Overall, I think it's a bit of a hack job by Peter Milligan, a hack job by Grindberg. They got Dick Giordano to ink it, of course, because he's so famous, among other things, for inking Neil Adams. And Grindberg is similar to Neil Adams, so that seems like a good match. But it's also dumb. Really, really dumb. And you could say, okay, but that's easy to say now from 2026. It was a 4-issue miniseries back in the early
No, no, no.
90s.
No, this
Yeah,
was
I think
it was a single issue.
Was it?
Yeah. It was just released as the Prestige format.
All right.
Yeah.
But I think they just did it to try to cash in on Batman movie popularity, and so, these guys are just thugs, right? They're just thugs. There's somebody called Mr. Handsome, but seeing Mr. Handsome wearing a mask and with something strange going on with the voice, it wasn't hard to work out. Oh, I see. This is not really Mr. Handsome. This is the wife in disguise. Thugs in comic books, they're just a dime a dozen. It's lazy, lazy, lazy writing. You could tell me I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I can't really imagine Alan Moore or Grant Morrison ever writing anything like this.
Well, of course not. But we always say those are the two best writers in the industry. So not everyone's going to write as well as them, right?
Well, it's true, but but just using thugs, it's like Denny O'Neil. Denny O'Neil always just throw in some thugs here, give them a name, throw in some thugs there.
So what
They're just so disposable.
What would be better than you're saying? It should have been one of Batman's famous rogues gallery characters, like the Penguin or something. Well, not the Penguin, but someone.
No, I was thinking about how Grant Morrison said he likes to enter the superhero villain world. He doesn't really want them to enter ours.
Sure.
And so, if you have a Steve Englehart in Detective, he's going for a kind of surrealism. But it's very kind of convincing with Hugo Strange and this kind of stuff, and the Penguin with his zany umbrellas and the way he used the Joker. So that was very good. But this, I mean, a monster in the caverns, a monster in the cave. I thought, oh, come on, this is like really bad Doctor Who, from the 70s or something. And then can we move it along a little bit, and then I can tell you some more stuff. So we've got the corny cliched monster in the caverns. We've got the always ridiculous Catwoman costume. Stupid mask, stupid tail.
We should point out this Catwoman costume, I believe, started in '86 with that miniseries. I think you were assuming this was the miniseries by a woman who wrote it. I don't remember who wrote it. I can look it up. But there was this was Frank Miller's suit, isn't it?
Yes, from Batman Year One.
That's right, right.
Because it was year one, so in that case, that's understandable. That was a year one. Sorry to interrupt, but this is not a year one. I love the design, the Catwoman design, with Darwin Cook and later drawn by Paul Gulacy, I think. Yes. Not this dopey headpiece and dopey.
However, this is better than the purple one that came after it. Remember the purple one?
Oh, yeah.
That was bad. And then even, let's be honest, her classic Golden and Silver Age costume was terrible with the green cape and that was terrible.
Yes,
so I think this is better than that. Yeah.
And if you want to do cheesecake stuff, for adolescent boys, then okay, you got this kind of, you take away the mask and the tail, and you've got a soft porn outfit. And that's why you get all those rear end shots. So anyway, look how easily Batman was fooled by just some thugs, and how easily Catwoman was taken prisoner and chained. I mean, come on.
Remember, we talked about this with the other Peter Milligan comics, where Peter Milligan's Batman is very fallible, right?
Ridiculously. Okay. I mean, it just is. I mean, come on. So I think the criticisms I felt just kept building and building. I enjoyed the first couple of pages. No dialogue, no captions, good art, intriguing, and then it just went downhill step by step by step. So anyway, and then these thugs, they've managed to, it's amazing, isn't it? They've managed to lure Catwoman so easily, and they've managed to fool Batman so easily, and managed to take her prisoner so easily, and they even had time to set up a model Catwoman, who in fact is a bomb. These people are just they should be paid more.
Batman
Anyway,
easily fooled. Anyway.
so can we go back
That's
to
what he's known for, Batman, world's greatest fool.
Yeah.
So, so then now she's all chained up, and of course there's a monster in the caverns, and of course somebody appears just in time to save her. And this person says, "Yes, I'm the wife, and I've been hiding down here in these caverns." I'm thinking, really, what have you been living on? You've avoided the cameras and you've been existing down there in the cavern. What have you been living on, eating on? By this time, shouldn't you have wasted away? But apparently you're all right. So, of course, that didn't ring true. Then I don't quite know what the deal is with Tom Grindberg's art here. There is nothing remotely feminine about this face.
That looks like a man, 100% like a man. Yeah.
He's trying to show us that she's lost her looks. Well, she hasn't just lost her looks. She's transformed into a man.
Okay.
Yeah. So, no, I don't buy any of this. And then we, move on, of course, and we move on again. And she wants Catwoman to kill the husband. And Catwoman, I'm not really into killing. But anyway, I want you to kill the husband. But she knows a way out here. Now, considering she's been down there, there's nothing for her to live off. Nothing.
That's a good point.
Food, anything. But she's in remarkably good condition. But Catwoman is too dumb to even question this. And she's in such good condition that, she can do this back-to-back thing with Catwoman and, force them, themselves up the shaft. This is a long shaft. This takes a monumental effort with monumental leg strength. You got to be in peak condition. There's no way in hell you'd even be able to lift one leg, let alone two, let alone climb up the thing. But, this, aging wife, she's something else. She's, but again, Catwoman, great detective, great. And as you say, they get to the top and, but, the only way we can get out of here, even though we've kind of made it to the top, we're going to have to spin around. Let's spin around and try and grab on the side. I think if you've made it this far up the top by going back to back to back, can't you kind of keep going a bit until you get kind of clear of the top? I mean, I haven't tried this myself. Have you tried it? But I think they could go right up to the ridge, and then try and do what you were saying. I understand, but according to the point where they're spinning around, it does look way above them. Anyway, conveniently, of course, the woman falls down, and she doesn't fall into her death. It's because this is a setup. But again, Catwoman's too stupid.
Now, I just want to intervene 1 second, man, because I just have something I want to add to this. Again, I do think the artwork sequentially works pretty well, but I do notice incongruities between the dialogue and between the artwork. Because even as you said, where they're saying, we have to spin around, that's the only way. They're not spinning around. They're unlocking their arms so that Catwoman can grab the edge. That's actually what they're doing. What the dialogue should have said is, we need to unlock one of our arms and we need to grab the side at the same time.
But maybe it didn't sound quite so dramatic in the dialogue. We have to unlock our arms and spin around sounds more exciting.
It sounds,
either the artist did not draw what was written, or I don't know what, or the dialogue should have been changed, or here's an idea. This whole scene is the worst scene in the book. I'll give you that. They could have replaced this scene with anything so much simpler. Like, it did not need to be this shaft, because it's almost like the story goes from a somewhat grounded crime story to all of a sudden it's like a Conan the Barbarian story where they're in this actual dungeon, right? And it just completely veers from reality at this point. I don't know. It should have just been rethought, I think.
And just one other question. What would happen if they slipped? I mean, the whole part of this plot is to get Catwoman up so she can kill. I mean, this is the weird contradiction. We need Catwoman to get up there so she can kill me. But why wouldn't you? Why do you need to do that? If you both fall, you both die anyway. So
why don't you
just
they would be rescued by the net at the bottom.
And where was this net? Why did Catwoman not see a net?
No. She said It's like bottomless. She said it's like literally a bottomless
Yeah,
shaft.
yeah. But later on, she says, "No, but you want to know how I survived the fallen pit because there was a safety net at the bottom."
Okay.
Hey, but that doesn't justify the whole
Right.
the
Of course
confusing,
not.
confabulous
Of
plot.
course not. She wants him
Anyway.
to kill her, right? And like you said, they're going to she's going to go through all this, and let's back to back and make our way out of the shaft. No. Bull, No, you know what I want you to do? Like, I lived in Scotland for 4 years when I went to university there. I want you to say in a Scottish, try my Scottish accent and say, this is effing shite.
But
Can we go back to the tunnel of love,
sure.
shaft of somebody?
We're just talking about Shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
We're here.
So there, okay. Right. And then anyway, so then she gets out of this, right? And is actually able to then finally set off the explosives because she's been tipped off by Mary. There are explosives, so set them off, gets past the last thug and gets to Mr. Handsome, who of course is Mary. Da-da-da-da. Those pesky kids, I'd have gotten away with it otherwise. Feature minute and stuff like that. But why? Why would all this? Because I lost my beauty and he couldn't take it anymore, and now I want to destroy everything that's beautiful. And you could say, well, that's a bit of an insane character. Good for Batman, but I don't know if it's good for Catwoman, really. So again, we see Mary, who looks 100% like a man, 100%. So I guess she really did lose her looks. And there you go. And what happens? The place caves in, and Batman turns up, and it just it just
this is what I've got to say though.
Misery.
I've got to say, and I want our Batman fans to understand this next statement. I would rather read this than Batman Hush any day of the week, because
Batman Hush has Jim Lee. The Jim Lee art. Come on, even the
this is
artwork,
better. This is better than Jim Lee, because Peter Milligan is trying to do something different. Even if it fails, I'd rather read this than Hush, where the entire plot is, let's have Jim Lee draw Poison Ivy. Let's have Jim Lee draw the Joker. Let's have Jim Lee draw the Riddler.
Yes.
And that's the plot. And there's the bullshit whodunit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, but it's just.
You know what, Mike? I will say, at least Hush, it's divisive. I'll say that. Although I think as time has gone on, more and more people have grown even more critical of that arc. And I would say rightfully so. I'm not a fan of it. But at least I can get something from that, even if it's some sort of schadenfreude entertainment from it not being a well-paced whodunit, compared to this, where I think it's safe to say it's fairly forgettable. I'm going to give a brief review, if you don't mind, right now.
Sure, go ahead. Absolutely.
Because despite me saying that, I don't think this is an uninteresting concept for a single issue of Detective Comics or Batman. I think it would have worked in a truncated format like that, but it doesn't warrant a prestige format. It's too long. I've seen similar themes and topics addressed in a much stronger fashion in other Batman comics and adaptations. There have been the characters that have kind of had the, disfigurement or the lost beauty that have become much stronger adversaries and much more interesting characters. I have two main critiques of this book. One of them is that I don't think it does Catwoman any justice. Now, granted, I haven't read a ton of Catwoman arcs. I know there's supposed to be some that are pretty well done out there, but I haven't come across too many where Catwoman is an interesting character. Her character is either based in trauma, i.e. the Batman Year One, she is a kind of beat up sex worker, or she's just a cheesecake piece of arm candy for Batman, a fetish-sized thing that he's always longing for. And when you contrast this to what's happening in Batman Returns, I would argue that's the strongest characterization I've seen of Catwoman, the Selena Kyle Catwoman. And again, with my limited view reading of the Catwoman solo series, I should say, but at least there's themes of duality and identity. Yes, Selena Kyle is a traumatic figure, but at the same time, she's also strong and she's kind of breaking past these boundaries and oppressions that have been moved against her as this meek woman. And she's much more complex and interesting. And this is just rote. I feel Selena Kyle, she's a gimmick. She doesn't have a character in this. And she does all the Catwoman things. She picks up a piece of jewelry and she purrs. She sees a cat on a windowsill. She picks it up. She holds it. She makes the sexual innuendos to Batman. It's all stuff I've seen a million times before. And when, I don't know, I look at the 66 Batman serial and I think of Eartha Kitt, or is it Julie Newmar? Was that one of the other Catwoman?
3 of them, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, wow, they were much more interesting Catwoman than this one in this prestige comic. Anyway, getting away from the characterization of Catwoman herself, I do think the story is interesting because it is a timely story in an era where we're bombarded by social media and all these images promoting superficial beauty and appearance being the most important thing that we need to focus on. I think in that way, it was very relevant in the early 90s. And it's relevant today. It's not a bad story to think about Mary as a victim of these sort of internalized misogynist perspectives by her husband about beauty, which becomes externalized, that she becomes the sort of monster that her husband makes her out to be when she doesn't adhere to these beauty standards. But any sort of profundity of those themes, they become disingenuous because of Catwoman posing and being really highly sexual and being in all these provocative images. And also, again, Catwoman just letting Mary be consumed by the beast thematically feels a bit uncertain. Like, is this implying that ugly will always consume ugly, that she got her comeuppance? Does Catwoman not have any empathy? Because what happens if you get scarred, Catwoman? You are this figure of beauty, but there's been no, like, reflection. There's no character growth of her going, well, I have been taking myself to be so powerful and strong because I am a traditionally beautiful woman. But what happened if I wasn't? All these interesting things that could have happened, or themes that were working but didn't quite get fleshed out enough, made this ultimately, I think, more than a bad comic. I don't even think I would consider this a bad comic, just a very disappointing comic. Because there's a baseline of something, a seed of an idea that was there, that was bogged down by convoluted storylines, a bad whodunit, a very bad series of reveals. And on top of that, as I said, these cheesecake poses and sexual, like, sort of positions Catwoman's body is put in. My review is ultimately, I wish someone would take this concept of this story, make a single issue of Detective Comics or Batman, and do a better version of it.
So I'd like to ask both of you a question, if I may.
Sure.
You are the editor of this project, Catwoman. What's it called? Catwoman what? Annihilation?
Defiant.
Catwoman Endgame.
Yeah.
You are the editor. This is presented to you. You have time. It doesn't have to go out for some months. Do you take it as is, or do you ask for changes? And if you ask for changes, what changes do you ask for?
Okay, I will say that's a good question, because getting back to the scenes I talked about, like climbing up the shaft, and some of the depiction of where the monster lived and all that stuff, I would have either minimized that or changed it and just made it a little bit more closer to reality. And I would have had the revelation figured out instead of explained, because it reminds me of you. Everyone's seen Psycho, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Psycho is a masterpiece, except for the second last scene where the cop or whoever it is, psychologist, explains to the audience what the twist is for like 5 minutes straight, this big speech. I wish the Catwoman or would have figured out the mystery on her own. That's the and I would have dedicated less pages to other things and given them to that. That's what I would change.
So you're facing Peter Milligan. What do you tell him?
I would say what I just said. Trim down this, and this.
You're telling him to rewrite.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you telling him, Peter, listen, you got to rewrite the whole thing, or I need you to just make adjustments. And also, Tom Grindberg. Tom, you've got to redraw.
Well, okay, now we're getting into different. I don't know if that's even possible, but I thought you were saying just at the scripting stage. If this was presented as a script, yes, I would say rewrite A, B, and C.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say it's just let's just keep it to a script.
Yeah.
How much are you telling him to rewrite?
I would say 33% of it.
Adam, what would you say?
To be honest, as I said, there's a German of an idea here. I said a German of an idea. Pardon me, a germ of an idea. But,
I thought, what German?
Yeah, no sauerkrauts in this. But I know. One of two things. I would either say this is a core concept that could work, but you need to have the themes embellished. You need to figure out if there going to be character growth or any sort of self-exploration that Selena Kyle goes through while exploring this theme of misogynist beauty standards. Or is this just going to be a kind of monster of the week sort of issue where she's just fighting a big bad? And in lieu of that, if Milligan could not come up with something more concise that worked more interesting with the themes and maybe streamlined the story so there's not two twists, but it's a very streamlined notion of what the arc of the story was going to be, scrap the whole thing. And at that point, given our experience with Milligan and Batman, I don't even know if he would be a good candidate to write this. In fact, I think even at the scripting stage, if I was given carte blanche power, I don't think I would entrust him with this particular project. I think Catwoman, as I said, I haven't read her solo series from the last 2 decades, so I'm sure there's some good examples of writing in that, but I would want someone that was less known for writing stories with twist than someone who can write strong characterization if the whole purpose of this book is to bring in new fans enticed by the film Batman Returns to figure out, well, who is this Catwoman and what is her character like in the comics? Give me something that shows her character. And that's my answer.
I will say the miniseries that Paul mentioned was written by, of course, I just had it up on my phone and I already forgot it. Oh, geez, just a minute. Here it is. Sorry, I've got it. Mindy Newell. Are you familiar with Mindy Newell?
We're friends on Facebook.
Come on. Oh, so am I. She wrote a few issues of Wonder Woman pre-Crisis, then she wrote a few after. I think she's a good writer. I like her.
Yeah, she did Lois Lane with Gray Morrow.
Exactly. And she also wrote the Catwoman miniseries. Unfortunately, she's not British, so we can't review it on this podcast, but maybe she should have done this.
Sorry, Mike, is this Her Sister's Keeper?
Yes.
Okay, then I am familiar with that. Okay, that's a caveat. I actually don't diss that art.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that would have been more appropriate, but it's ironic that considering how popular Batman was at this time and how well the comic was selling, they were a little bit starved for talent because after Jim Starlin left Batman, Marv Wolfman took over and I didn't like his run. I honestly never liked, was it Alan Grant who did Detective with Norm Brayfogle, right?
And he's Scottish, so you can review him.
Oh, so we can, well, there you go. More Batman coming your way. But I don't really know who it would have been, like not Chuck Dixon, maybe Doug Mensch. None of these guys were, it was a strange time because Marvel was in the shitter, but DC was kind of status quo, but they were still starving, I think, for great writers at this time. But I think Peter Milligan is one of the best. Definitely.
I think he's good at particular stories. I think trying to do detective yarns and trying to make fun little mysteries, he does a pretty good job at that. I don't know. I just feel there is a potential here that he just wasn't the best writer for. I wish if this was his germ of an idea, that he just came up with it at some sort of editorial table, and someone would go, well, that's great, Peter. We just know that's not the sort of story that you would write. Let's give it to whomever, and then you can take on this other project.
Well, you see, Adam, like you said, to give Peter Milligan credit, he thinks, okay, you know what would be interesting? We'll have a villain called Mr. Handsome. It's okay, but it's okay because it's a kind of bizarre Batman. It's all right. We'll have a villain called Mr. Handsome, and the twist will be that Mr. Handsome hates beauty and wants to destroy all beautiful things. Catwoman loves beauty. So if Catwoman loves beautiful things, she should come up against a villain who is an art hater, not an art lover. So that's a good starting premise. It is. But if he said, listen, now what I want to do is have this kind of monster in the cavern, and the wife who's lost her beauty, she's taken his place and pretending to be him with a mask and a voice, kind of twister or something. I'd say, I'm not so sure about that. I like your theme. Catwoman, lover of all things beautiful, comes up against a Mr. Handsome, hater of all things beautiful. I like that. Mm-hmm. But can we avoid the monster in the caverns and
Okay, now let me, I mean, we don't usually spend this much time rewriting a comic, but what if it wasn't a monster in an actual dungeon? What if it was just a monster in another room, or I don't know what, but just something more down to earth or mundane or something?
Well, I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen. I thought the monster was actually going to be her husband. Yes. I thought the reveal was going to be that he was in the shadows, and it's just because he's been kept locked down here, some sort of revenge for all the misogynist bullshit that this man had put her through over the years. He just has, she just has him locked into the basement. His thugs unwittingly just kind of put stray dogs and animals down there for him to eat on because he's been reduced to this sort of ugly creature himself, and kind of showing, well, maybe this sort of misogyny and this hyper focus on the superficial also eats away at you. And I think that would have made a stronger theme, and maybe it could have correlated to maybe a better reveal. I think we haven't talked about the big thing, and I know it's hard to conceive of this when we're in a universe full of aliens and gods and monsters, but it's just like, oh, there's just a monster in the basement. But no explanation. It just happens to be there.
Right. Well, okay. You know what? I think the final thing for me is that even Grant Morrison admitted that compared to comics, writing for film and TV is more about rewriting. And I think one thing a lot of comic book writers don't understand is, I'm sorry, but it's not just about writing about whatever you like, doing whatever you want to do, because it's not about an editor or a company forcing you to do certain things. It's about getting feedback and bouncing ideas off of them. And my favorite era, well, one of my favorite eras is like the Silver Age. And I know that writers and editors, they took the time to work ideas out and go bounce ideas off of each other. And I think that's always the best way to do something. Unless you're Alan Moore and you're a genius and everything you write is perfect. I think even the very best writers could use, or the best comic stories could use a rewrite. And there's nothing wrong, like we said with, okay, like if this was Hollywood, they would say, okay, take this general idea and just rewrite it. Just do another draft, then do another draft.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So ideally,
sometimes it could be too much. Too many rewrites, and sometimes not enough rewrites. I don't know. I mean, maybe they had to get this out again in a hurry, gave it to Peter Milligan, Tom Grindberg. Okay, let's just go. We need something to match the timing of the movie. And that's it. They got it out the door. I mean, this is how it is, right? You got a deadline, meet the deadline. Let's just get something out there. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Let's just get something out there.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. But no, I mean, out of 10, I give it like at most a 4.
I just want to follow up on that point from Nice Man, and this will be my last part. If these are just vehicles to introduce new readers to these characters, to show you who these characters are now in DC continuity, if people were interested after watching Batman Returns, Do a special issue where you're just recounting their origins and continuity up until that point. Introduce a small little story where we're introduced to who they are, what their character arc is, where they are right now in continuity, and you have a launching pad. That's your synergy that you need for introducing new readers to the character. And you don't get many opportunities like having a big screen adaptation. Well, now every other film's a superhero movie from Marvel, yes, but back then in 92, you didn't always have that opportunity. Why wouldn't you take that? Instead, I would say, as my final point, if I was the editor of this book and I read this, I would go, my God, people are going to read this and they're not going to want to follow who Catwoman is because this isn't good. And I would panic. So to me, it's not just a narrative failure. I never talk about marketing because I don't really care about that. But from a marketing standpoint, I think this comic is also a bit of a failure.
I will give you that. From a marketing standpoint, it's absolutely a failure. And I think this is where I was starting to lose. Like, I was buying every Batman comic. And then around 92-ish, I started to just lose interest because they weren't they weren't taking advantage of the opportunities they had, put it that way. And it took them a long time to figure it out, I think. I like Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker's run on Batman in the early 2000s. That was good stuff. And if this was 2026 and they did something like this, I think you're right. They would have taken advantage of the moment much better. Maybe they'd have a series of short stories like, okay, here's your origin. Okay, here's this, here's that, whatever. And this was probably not the best way to do it. I'll definitely agree with that.
So what's your grade? What's your grade out of 10?
Oh boy, I gotta give it at least a 6. I'll give it a 6.
Adam, what's yours?
Oh, I like a letter system myself, so I think I would go with a C minus.
So you're C minus. Mike is like Mike, you're like a C plus.
I don't know. What's your number, Adam? You got to give a number. We gave 4 and 6. You got to give a number.
No, I like to go for vibes. You know what? I'm gonna give this
5.
I'm gonna give this 2 scoopfuls from the cat litter box out of 7 paws.
So 5.
Okay, whatever. Okay. So I don't know. I'll agree with. I mean, hey, all good points, but I definitely enjoyed it more than an average Batman comic from this era, if you can believe it. But here's the thing: is I think we're gonna. Nice Man is gonna come around next week. Look at him waiting in anticipation, because next week we're gonna bring back Mark Miller and Grant Morrison on The Flash. Emergency stop. Yes!
I was so looking forward to Grant Morrison on The Flash.
Well, we're going to find out exactly how good this story is next week.
I was looking forward to
All right, I want to thank Nice Man and Adamantium for a very lively discussion about a classic comic from 1992. Next week, we're going to jump to, what is this? I don't even know what year this was. Mark Miller, this is 2000. Oh, this is 97. Wow, it's going to be fun, folks. Paul Ryan on art. It's going to be another good discussion. All of our episodes are available at comicbooksyndicate.com or youtube.com. And that's it. Until the next time, see you later.